to round 2 of the Wilson Fabrics AMSCAR series, and both of the OXO Sierras are missing off the grid here, and I see that car 16's been pushed off as well, Bradley Jones, but it's George Fury on pole with Jim Richards sharing the front row. Andrew Medicke is missing. Ludwig Finau's there in the BMW M3, then Trevor Ashby in a Commodore. Brad Jones has been pushed off on the infield. Terry Finnegan, I think, he's there in a Commodore. Then Don Smith is missing in the Ford Sierra. Brian Callahan in a Commodore. John Smith driving a Toyota Corolla. Then Drew Price and David Ratcliffe also in Toyotas. My gee, the field is depleted.
Flag down, and George Fury gets a very healthy jump. Jim Richards side by side as they head to the top of the hill. Finau a good start. Trevor Ashby up to 3rd place in car number 39. There's the shots from Sevens race cam. The V8 Commodore lunging at the top of the hill, and Fury leads over the top. Ashby up into 2nd position, and then Richards on the outside in a very difficult position in 3rd. Great shots from race cam as they go through the loop, and Ashby's made a blinder of a start to get so close to the back of Fury so early in this race. The very fast right-hander down towards Honda. Finau has gone into 4th position. Finnegan is next, followed by Callahan in car number 47.
Well, I don't know where the rest of the opposition has disappeared to, but a disconsolate Brad Jones, as I can see walking across the infield, and both the OXO Ford Sierras have failed the front. But the competition is a little tougher here in the 2nd round, despite the depleted field, Peter McKay.
It's very, very tight at the front, and Jim didn't really want anybody to get between he and Fury, but that's just exactly what Trevor Ashby has done.
Ashby being hard-pressed by Richards. There's Jones. He can still manage a smile. No, nothing I can do about it. Well, I tell you what, Fury's going to have something to do up front, because the pressure is on, particularly from Richards on Trevor Ashby. Richards can't afford to let the Nissan get too far away from him.
Incidentally, Ashby has extended his points lead in this series, now has 38. Richards has 31, Longhurst 30. He's not scoring any points after the problems he had. Look at the shots from race cam here. And Richards is giving the big Commodore plenty to worry about. Now Ashby up on the inside. He's got the line for the corner, but Richards argues on the outside. Terrific motor racing. Fury the leader. From Jim Richards, Ashby, Finau and Finnegan.
A big deep breath there from Jim before he went around the outside.
Ooh, you would have sworn that Ashby had the line for the corner, but it didn't work out that way. I tell you who else is doing very, very well in this field and is not far back from this pack, and that's John Smith in the 1600cc Toyota dealer team Corolla. Not a bad performance from him. Ashby holding out Finau in the 2nd of the JPS BMW M3s. 2nd time out for Goofy this weekend. Team Wrench follows the circus on the Shell Ultra Australian Touring Car Championship trail. A very competent engineer in his own right. And I tell you what, he's going to have to be a competent driver here, because he's got Finnegan right on the case. Frank Gardner, team manager, looks on with crew. And Finnegan at the moment really applying some pressure to the youngster. Noticed in the back of that lot there, we saw the little Toyota. So behind Finnegan, we have Callahan. And then, surprise, surprise, a 1.6 litre motor car being driven by John Smith. And there's Callahan, car 47, returning to Amaroo again this weekend.
Running radial Dunlops for the first time. And just to show how technology can trip you up, he's half a second slower than he's ever been around here.
I can tell you the problems with the OXO Sierras. Medicke had a clutch problem, and Don Smith had a dip let go on the starting line, so drive line problems as a result of too much horsepower. Nothing wrong with too much horsepower, but it's a worry when it does things like that. This is John Smith in car 31 in the Corolla.
He hasn't got to worry about too much horsepower, but what horsepower he's got, he's working well.
Qualified at 55.16, which is a remarkably strong performance for a little car of that size.
Freddie Gibson was telling me this morning that it was only a few years ago, as far as he was concerned, anyway, it only felt like a few years ago when he was doing those sort of times in GT Falcons and thought he was Christmas.
George Fury, race leader, up and over Bitchapave once more, and leading comfortably from Jim Richards in this race. Richards, in his mind anyway, having been held up off the starting line after Ashby got in front of him in the big yellow Commodore, and it took Richards a couple of laps to regain the ascendancy in that battle, and did it in spectacular fashion, as you saw on Sevens race cam. Now he's got a long hard chase to try and haul in George Fury.
Wilco, Brad Jones had problems with drivetrain as well with the Mitsubishi Starion, we've just learned.
The Starion actually did a... Oops.
George Fury on our Nissan driver profile there. Pete, sorry to interrupt. He's a rally ace, the man who's adapted very well to Touring Car Championship running, and he leads this race quite comfortably at this stage of the game, and I can tell you the gap, it's extending 2.8 seconds.
Well, he really has got this car motoring along, despite the fact that he hasn't had the best of fortune in the Australian Touring Car Championship. There's Jim Richards, king of Amaroo in recent seasons in the touring car division. But with a round of the Australian Championship coming up, as we said, at Amaroo later in the season, George Fury felt that now was the time to get here and get it sorted out, and he's got it sorted out in pretty spectacular fashion.
That battle still raging for third at the moment as the drivers head down towards the slowest part of the course, the stop right-hander.
Yeah, well, it's a big gap actually between the top two cars and the next division battling it out for third, that being Ashby, Finnar and Finnegan. There they are, in fact, the three cars dicing for third position. Ashby, the yellow Commodore, Finnar in the black BMW, and then Finnegan in the blue and white Commodore following up.
Saw the boards out before. Richards getting around at a time of about 53.7, which is pretty flash time. Actually, talking about times, 3 lap records broken in that last, or first heat, should I say, of this. And have a look at Goofy here on the inside, going for Trevor Ashby and gets him. Shot from race cam, and the back of the BMW M3 just gets out a little as he comes through the right-hander, but he's got away with the manoeuvre. Sensible and clever bit of driving, well balanced.
You don't think Finnar's bucking for a promotion in the BMW team, do you?
Could be the way he's driving. It's been a very good performance. What I was going to say before Goofy rudely interrupted was that Jim Richards set a lap record for the class that his car is in. John Smith set a lap record for the under 1600s, and George Fury set a new outright lap record all in the first heat of the Wilson Fabrics AMSCAR series here today.
A very fast track, obviously, although the storm clouds above suggest it mightn't always be like this.
Finnar, Ashby and Finnegan. Finnegan driving very hard in his Commodore, but just not able to bridge the gap on Ashby.
Ashby running a new Larry Perkins engine this weekend, which enables him to grab a few more revs. He can take this one to 7,000.
Brake chatter in a big way. Really locked up getting into the left-hander. Made a mess of that, Pete, and he's now got Finnegan hot on his tail. That was a great example of the things that can go wrong inside the cockpit. We were with them with 7th race cam. Oh, and Finnegan gives him a little boot along the way.
On his tail.
He's got problems with the gearbox by the look of it. You can see the driver looking down.
Finnegan's got him. Whatever the problem is aboard Ashby's Commodore, it's spelt pretty much the end of his race. And that's a shame because he's the series leader.
He'll attempt to limp home to get valuable points for the AMSCAR series.
1.5 laps remaining. The leader is George Fury in car number 30. Nissan Turbo Skyline, and he's given nothing else a chance, coming off pole position in this big lead over Jim Richards. Fury goes through the lake corner, and he must have a lead of about 237 metres, I would say.
And in time reference, it's 5.4 seconds, Wilco.
So it's even more than that in terms of distance. You can see it for yourself as he crosses the start-finish line. A lap to go. There's Richards just coming into view now. So it is a good 300 metres.
That 160 laps of practice and testing on Wednesday and Thursday here, obviously paying dividends for the Nissan team.
They're doing a lot of homework on the suspension of the car, and they're continuing to tyre test, which is good. And Fred believes they're getting closer and closer all the time. Fred Gibson, that is, the team manager, to really getting a tyre compound that works perfectly on this car in all conditions.
Well, I'll need it when the championship trail heads towards Amaroo Park. 70 laps, that race.
So the checkered flag being ready now for George Fury in this second heat, round 2 of the Wilson Fabrics AMSCAR series.
Untroubled, George takes the final corner and heads up for the flag, an easy one. And there it goes, and you can still see Jim Richards slowing down. Finnar closing on him, but he won't catch him, and the teammates from BMW will cross the line in second and third positions. Heat 2, Finnegan having got by Ashby, holds him out in the line in the battle for 4th place. So let's check it on the Castrol scoreboard. George Fury makes it 2 out of 2, taking heat 2 of the AMSCAR series from Jim Richards and Ludwig Finau.